everybody, Kim here with Little Biz Resources, and today we're going to talk about why entrepreneurs need automation and 3 areas to implement automation right now. Time is money. This aphorism, which of course I had to look that up and I still don't know if I'm saying it right, speaks the painful truth for entrepreneurs. When we waste time, we feel like we waste money. Now, this should not be viewed as the same thing as downtime, right? Everybody still needs downtime. And all of those alleged gurus that claim that they never watch movies and they never do anything fun and all they ever do is work, they're crazy. And every mental health professional in the world is probably looking at them saying, hey, you need some downtime. So you do need downtime. Don't feel like your downtime is you're wasting time unless you really are wasting time. So a few of the times I start to feel like I'm wasting time and thereby wasting money. First of all, when I'm stuck in traffic. This is one of my pet peeves. How can we as a society not figure out how to help traffic flow better? I mean, seriously, we can shove a bunch of people into a concentrated location and somehow we are like, hey, well, so what if it takes you 4 hours to get across town? That's your problem, not mine. No, this is obviously something that we are not talented at as human beings. So anyway, when I'm stuck in traffic, I have this huge pet peeve about it and I hate it. So I try to optimize my time. I use as much resources as possible to avoid being stuck in traffic, even to the point where I'm probably wasting more time planning stuff out. Now, another time is when the power or the internet go out. I do a lot of stuff online, especially on the internet. And so if the power goes out, if the internet stays up, it doesn't always, sometimes it does, but usually it goes out as well. I don't know how, they're not connected, but whatever. So when the power goes out, the internet goes out, then I feel like I'm losing time and losing money. Now, another time, this is one that usually hits the most, thankfully, because if power going out that often, I need to move. When I do tedious tasks over and over and over again and never make it to the end of the purpose of the task, right? So for an example of this, let's say that I create 50 pins and then I never do anything with them. They're just sitting on a folder on my computer. That is a pointless waste of time if I've never executed those into the next step. And sometimes those are timely, right? So like I did a post about Pinterest, or I did a video about Pinterest, then never published it. But the Pinterest shutdown, mass shutdown like a month ago or something. And I'm like, I never published it. And the reason why I didn't publish it is because I was like in it. I said, yeah, download this checklist. And then I was going to do the checklist, which is still on my to-do list. So I was like, I can't, I hate that part of it. When you're doing these tasks and then you never take the next step. So that's part of why I don't batch work as much as I probably should, because I hate the fact that I batch 50 pins and then never do the next step of the batch. Now, it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen often enough that it annoys me. And that is really, to me, a huge waste of time. And so how do we overcome that? Well, as entrepreneurs, we need to use automation, right? So one of the major pitfalls of an entrepreneur is our desire to do way more than we can, right? I mean, I talk about this all the time. And this is actually more of a human condition and not specifically to entrepreneurs. But we as entrepreneurs frequently fall victim to this, and that is that we think and try to shove into our day way more than we could possibly do. And that's just something that we do over and over and over again. I don't know very many entrepreneurs that don't do this. They might be better. They might be, not as scattered, or not, they may be able to plan better. They're more evolved into the entrepreneur part of it than they are like I am. I like to still do way too much, like every day. I don't know. It's just who I am. Now, as entrepreneurs, we're capable of tedious tasks, right? So I know I've heard so many people say, well, you shouldn't be doing this, but we have to. We have to do whatever it takes to get the job done, because it's our job and we have to do it. And I don't mean job as in, okay, this is what we do to get paid, but I mean, this is what we strive for, right? We want to get to a certain point. And if that means we have to do 5 little baby things repetitively, we'll do them, but we may not do them as well as if we were to hire somebody or whatever. I get that. But when we are doing those tedious tasks and it conflicts with our innate need to do more, we start to break. And I see this with people all the time. This is, I think, when we give up, right? So I see this in groups where people are like, hey, they're a part of the program that I'm in, and they'll go, well, I've done the first 3 tasks and now I'm stuck. And they've gone back and they're like, well, I've posted 47 pages of stuff. Okay, well, what about the next step? Well, I'm still working on the first part. Right. And that's exactly what I talked about before, is that the over and over and over again of those tedious tasks, when we get caught in the cycle of not getting to the part where we're actually being productive, and we're doing stuff. It's just we can't get past that. And I've done this so many times, it's ridiculous. And I think everybody does to a degree at least. And for those of us that pack way more into our days than we should, we do it more than others. And that's when we start to break and say, okay, well, this isn't for me, or I'm never going to make it to the next step, or whatever it is. We start to feel like it's not possible. And that's where we need to have our time to do what we want, right? We need to have enough time to do what we feel is necessary for the next step, but we still need to get those other things done. Of course, a virtual assistant is the ultimate goal. At least for me it is. I'm not going to do that until at least next year, because I said I'm not going to. I'm going to be a normal person for the rest of the year, and then we'll see if I can stay normal or not. Now, of course, there's plenty of us that would love to just have someone else do this, like a virtual assistant or VA, as some people call them. But most entrepreneurs and small business owners don't feel they can afford a VA, or they really can't. Right? If we're just getting started, we don't have enough resources, we don't have enough money, whatever it is, if we're just starting out something, you don't want to invest a ton of money into it if you don't have confidence in it. And that's what I see a lot too, is people don't have confidence necessarily in what they're doing. And of course, because of that, they don't hire the VA even if they have the money. And so this leaves them doing everything, right? We're wearing all those different hats. Now, automation can't fix everything. I'm not going to say it can. And it can't free up all our time, right? You're still going to get stuck in traffic. But it can help us free up some time so we can get back to doing everything else. Now, there are 3 areas you can automate right now. Like right now. Social media posting tools, Facebook comment and messaging tools, and email marketing tools. Now, I'm not going to dive into the details of how all 3 of these, they work and what they are and what's best for you and blah, 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 because that would take us days. I'll include some links in the description, but we'll highlight some of the areas in each of these 3 that can help improve your efficiency and minimize time-sucking activities. So let's look at social media posting tools. Now, social media has 3 core or main areas that you need to spend your time, doing those tasks. And the first one is the creative assets. So you've got your pins, you've got your posts, your stories, your videos, whatever it is you're going to be posting, right? So that's the creative assets. That's one area, right? And I talked about this. You can create 50 pins and then you never take the next step. Next step is scheduling. Scheduling the post at optimal times to hit as much of your audience as possible. Now, scheduling is critical. You can post and not be on a schedule. I mean, that's fine. And I'm sure there are plenty of people who do that, and depending on their channel may do well. But yeah, I think scheduling, you'd want to schedule and test when the best times are. Of course, it doesn't necessarily matter, but the idea is that you're not posting 5 times in a row and then skipping a couple of days, then posting 17 times in a row and then getting banned. So the next part after that is, once your posts are out there and you've got content flowing, you've got, there's going to be engagement that you have to react to or respond to. And there's going to be customer service, right? There's going to be customer service. And, I have my sister and I have a baking page. And this is a big thing about it, is once we're not doing anything, we're just posting stuff, right? We're keeping the page alive. We don't even keep the page alive. What am I saying? It's just there now. People still message us all the time. Will you bake a cake for us? It says on our page, we don't bake cakes. I mean, we do, but we don't bake for people, right? So we're like, hey, don't message us about this. First thing, message. Can you send us a cake? Can you get it to me by tomorrow? You're an idiot. I don't know anybody who can get it to you by tomorrow unless they're local. You're in Africa. It's not going to make it. Sorry. Sorry if you guys are one of those that message us, right? Now, automation tools vary in their help with reducing time-sucking activities. So it doesn't mean they're always going to be reducing time-sucking activities. You just might be reorganizing your time so that you're batching your work perhaps, or that you're, doing everything. Maybe you need to take Friday off, right? So you're doing stuff in advance. Now, different automation tools offer different resources. So for example, you do not have to pay for tools. There are plenty of software resources and tools and access to various elements that you can use to do all of this, and you don't necessarily need to pay for stuff. So if that's one of your concerns about automation, there are plenty. Power Automate Pro or Power Automate Desktop. Pro is not free, but Desktop. It's a free tool that I use. Right now I'm using it with Photoshop that I'm paying for, but still, it's like, you can pick your battles. And if you can figure out how to use it with something that's free, even better, right? So you can use the built-in scheduling tools on most of the major platforms to schedule posts. And we'll talk more about these different areas and different things that you can use. Now, some of the platforms let you use their tools to create assets for their platform. Facebook's a good example of this. Now, this is where I say it's not necessarily a reduction in time-sucking activities. Because if you're using Facebook to create the posts and by create them, I mean, you still have to have your image or your video or whatever it is you're going to be loading with it. But you could create the entire description in there. You can add in your link or whatever, your emojis and everything. You can schedule it all within the Facebook platform. Facebook wants you to do that, but it is a time suck. Doesn't matter when you do it. Doesn't matter how you do it. Doing it there or doing it somewhere else. And then it doesn't save you any time. The best case scenario on this would be you get to using those like at the times that you want to use them, as an example. But I'll tell you what, using Facebook's stuff has made it very difficult for me to have faith in their servers when I do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's taking 30 minutes to update. Right? I mean, it doesn't really take that long. It's probably like 30 seconds, but in my world, it feels like 30 minutes. But your goal for this entire video and task is going to be to identify those tools that will help you the most with reducing the amount of time it takes you to do something that you can minimize. So for example, if your challenge is, hey, I only have Tuesday evenings to be able to schedule posts, you can schedule them. If you're like, hey, I can't get to posting every single day, I need to be able to batch my work and so that it goes out all week. I need to do it just one night and have it go all week. Then you need to learn the scheduling tools, whether it's the tools that are specifically on the platforms or it's tools that are external to third-party tools. All right, so let's get some automation examples. Now I did a video on this. I used Power Automate Desktop to resize images. Now in the video, I showed how I was using this for Etsy, but you could do the same process for mass creation of unique creative image assets. So let's say you wanted to do Pinterest pins and you have a pool of images that you're like, hey, I just need to reshape these so that they fit the Pinterest pin, right? You could use Power Automate Desktop for that. You could use something like Canva, the free version of Canva, right? I like Canva. I use it all the time. I have Photoshop and I still use Canva all the time. Now this lets you create assets really fast. And when you combine that with Canva templates, link in the description, you can minimize your creative time significantly. So that is one of the areas that I spent a lot of time in as well. And it was frustrating, right? Doing 50 pins is time consuming no matter what you're doing. But if I can take that and turn it from a 3-hour task to a 1-hour task, I've just saved myself 2 hours. Right. And with the case of the images on Etsy, I went from literally 10 to 12 hours a week to about 10 minutes of my time. My computer is still using up 10 to 12 hours, but that's okay because I'm not in front of it for those 10 to 12 hours. I'm doing other stuff that I need to get done. And I do have another computer if I need it, my laptop. So I can always use that if I need to. Now, for many of us that do our own marketing, we don't have enough time to be on every single social media channel all the time. Right? I mean, I don't really have time to be on Instagram ever because I don't get the point of it. I'm never going to be on Twitter. Never. I don't understand it. I still don't understand. I don't get it. Maybe if you're a Twitter person, you can explain it to me, but I just don't get it. But automation helps us corral the time-sucking activities into manageable activities or time frames or whatever. Right? So if we know we need to block off 3 hours so that we can do our posts every week, we can at least do that all at once with scheduling and everything else. Now, social media automation opportunities. Let's dive into these just a little bit more. I'm not going to go into great detail. I'm going to have mostly links in the description. But creative assets, I talked about that with Canva. We need to utilize the tools that speed up the process. Okay, we need to speed up the process. And again, a list will be in the description of various tools you can utilize to help speed that up. Some are free, some are paid. One of my favorites is this video marketing or video creation tool that lets me create videos in whatever size I want. So I can literally make them the size for Pinterest. I can make them the size for Instagram. I can make them the size for Facebook. I can make them the size for YouTube, right? Those are all 4 different platforms that require 4 different sizes. Actually, I guess I think Facebook doesn't really care if you're vertical or horizontal. So, or portrait landscape, however you want to say that. But for the most part, YouTube, you need to be landscape, horizontal. And then Pinterest wants you vertical. And then Instagram wants you vertical or square. And their vertical dimensions are not the same as anybody else. So it's just one of those, every single platform wants their own requirements. And, oh yeah, they're the best and blah, blah, blah. So using tools that are like that are versatile, they help because you can just make it the size you need. You don't have to edit it or anything else. Now, scheduling. Oh my gosh, there are tons of tools for scheduling. Tons and tons of tools for scheduling. I'll include a list in the description of the ones that help me the most, but you need to find what works for you. The ones that I recommend really help with Pinterest, Instagram. You can kind of include Facebook in that, but Facebook really hates automation and software and tools and stuff. So Facebook's one, but then you know what? The reach is so minimal. Who cares, right? You might as well just use automation until you know for sure that you need to dedicate more time onto Facebook. Now for follow-up, messenger bots are the way to go. And you'll notice that I mentioned that as a separate section as well. Messenger bots are great for follow-up, right? They do great for customer service. They do great for marketing. I mean, they're just an all-around versatile tool. Commenting software is another one, which we'll talk about in a minute, but you can also use that in your follow-up, depending on what you're doing. And then an optimized link page is also something I would recommend. Now, I have an excellent resource for Instagram in the description on that one. Now, you can see that some of this, of course, especially the follow-up, crosses into the next automation. And that is Facebook commenting and messaging tools. So as I mentioned in the prior slide, these are useful for follow-up as well. But the primary purpose of this is to increase engagement with your audience. Okay, we're using commenting tools and messaging tools as a way to engage them and to help us with our organic reach, to help us with building our audience. And I don't have all this set up. So don't be like, oh, hey, Kim, I commented on one of her things and I never got anything yet. That's because I don't have all this set up because it doesn't really work for my niche. But if your niche has a really high engagement, if you're in something like Harry Potter, that's my favorite to reference, mostly because I was watching something and they mentioned Harry Potter. And yes, that's my daughter in the background. So if you want to increase your engagement with your audience, build that relationship, it's usually on Facebook, but you can link to messenger bots from anywhere. In fact, it used to be called Facebook Messenger. It's now just called Messenger. A lot of people still call it Facebook Messenger, but it is its own separate entity. And you can tell people, hey, engage, click here, right? So most people are on Facebook, so they're going to have Messenger. You can say, click here. If you're in Pinterest, you can link over to an automation that brings them into a quiz. Take this quiz to find out what house you're in for Harry Potter. And they click it, and then they go in, they enter into your messenger bot, and then they go in through a series of questions, and then they get their answer. Maybe they get it emailed to them after they give their email, something like that. Now, of course, that's not the best example because everybody already knows their house. I know this because I went to the museum the other day and everybody that was there knew their house. Now, I wrote about this strategy in an article on my site, so I'm going to link to that if you want more info, and I'll do a specific video about this at a later time about how you can use commenting and messenger bots and everything else. And I also have a free training you can watch to get a better idea of the potential of this in the description. Or if you're on Facebook, I guess I might post this. No, I'll just post this on YouTube. And then no, I will not be editing this because it's going to take me so long to do this as it is. So email marketing tools. When I was doing the outline for this video, I gotta tell you guys, it's so funny because I'm doing the outline for this video and I'm like, really, there's only 2 areas that they could really implement. And I'm like, no, I mean, email marketing is one that a lot of people don't utilize as well. So maybe I should talk about that. And so I hopped into a couple of my groups just to double check this because I'm like, I keep seeing people ask random questions and I usually ignore them because I'm busy doing my own stuff and they're not in my group. So it's usually in somebody else's group and I don't want to overstep my bounds and stuff. But I was like shocked because there's so many people, even in an email marketing group that I'm in. There are people asking various versions, different ways of saying, how do I email my customers in mass? And I'm going, what? Or they'll be like, how do I deliver this? If they opt into my list, how do I deliver the content to them or deliver the freebie? And I'm going, that's what you use the email marketing software for, right? You use these tools and these softwares to do that. And within most of the major email marketing software programs, so if you're doing something where you're like, hey, I'm trying to get 100,000 people for like $5 a month, that's not normal software. That's going to be something that's cutting corners somewhere or taking out some of the resources. So many of the major ones, and I'll probably have a link to a couple of them that I like below in the description. So you can, take a look at them and see if they work for you. But they let you automatically send messages to people when they opt into your list. So here are a few things you can do with email marketing software. You can create a welcome series of emails. So if you're building a relationship with your list, with your audience, they're coming into your list and they're saying, hey, I'm going to opt in to get this freebie or whatever. And you deliver the freebie, which is actually the next one. But you can also have a follow-up series that automatically comes in so that when person A comes in on Monday, they get email 1 the very next day. But person 2 comes in on Friday, they get email 1 on Saturday. Right? So they don't have to all be on the same emails. And you can do that with most of the major email marketing software. You can also automatically deliver freebies. So somebody opts into your list, you can either redirect them to a download and then you have them on the list, or you can just email them the link to the download, right? So there are a lot of different ways that you can do that. You can even email them if it's something, depending on your email marketing platform, you can email them in the email. Oh yeah, here you go. Here's your PDF that you asked for. It's attached, right? That doesn't deliver as well, so it's not really recommended. But you could, have a link on to your site or to, some document sharing, Google Docs or something where you're like, here you go. Here's the link to it, and you provide it in the email. So there are a lot of different ways that you can do that when somebody's opted into your list. And that's a huge value right there, right? To be able to automate that, to be able to not have to manually reply to every single email coming in saying, hey, yeah, I'm interested in this. Now, I don't know very many people that actually email people and say, hey, yeah, I'm interested in what you talked about. I don't think I ever get that. If I do, it probably goes to spam. So this is a great way somebody opts into your list. It automatically delivers it for you. You can be sleeping. You can schedule out regular updates with email marketing software. Now, an example of this is one my sister and I talk about all the time, right? Maybe a weekly newsletter. So her and I both are under the belief that you don't need to email your list every single day if you're in certain niches, right? So some niches you need to do it every day, and that's what they're signing up for. But in some niches, like we're both in e-commerce, and they already know where to find us, and they already come back to us all the time. So what we want to do is just kind of touch base with them, keep them engaged, let them know sales, let them know when there's new products, things like that. So we can schedule that. We can schedule that to deliver. In fact, theoretically, if like your seasonality, your products, all that, you can basically schedule this out for as long as you want, right? I mean, as long as you're not doing something like weather related things, because that can't be predicted ever, anywhere. There's no weather person that's right ever. When I was growing up, there was a guy in the Reno Sparks area. He was really good, and that was in Nevada. I guess that's its own state. But ever since then, I have not been able to find another meteorologist that is as accurate as he is. Every single one of them is like wrong or following the wrong model or whatever. Anyway, so automation doesn't solve all the time sucking problems, right? There's still going to be time sucking activities you have to do. So it doesn't fix everything, but it does help us improve our ability to spend the same amount of time and do a lot more, right? So if you're like, hey, I need to spend less time, it may not fix that depending on how much you have. If you have a bunch of stuff that's on your plate, or you have more, like you want to reach more audiences, and this is a perfect one. That's the next point, right? We reach more people when we use automation. if you're doing everything manually, you're probably focused on one platform. And this is a big thing that I really emphasize, is that we need to have marketing omnipresence, which is when we're on multiple channels. Because when something like the Pinterest snafu that happened about a month ago, where mass accounts shut down and apparently there's been pins that aren't working anymore. I mean, they obviously did something to their automation. Facebook has done this in the past. YouTube has done this in the past. Not as recent. They did that a long time ago. All these platforms. Twitter shuts people down just because they don't like them. Right? I mean, all of these platforms, they do what they want, when they want, and how they want. And because of that, you have to be prepared to interact with your audience in multiple ways, right? So this is how we do that. We use automation to reach more people. Then we can also provide low-level customer service. Now, that sounds bad, but really it's answering the simple questions like, are you open? What are your hours? How do I find you if you're a local business, right? Do you bake a cake? No, I don't bake a cake. I can automatically send them a response. In fact, I believe that as my auto response. Hey, thanks so much for messaging us. We're not going to respond to you yet, but if you're asking for a cake, we don't make them. If you're looking for something else, leave a message. We'll go back to you as soon as you can. I'll also let you guess. How many times do you think they've left a follow-up message? Not just that, but that didn't say something about a cake. Zero times. Some people still reply and say, I just wanted to know if you could bake a cake. The auto response just told you we don't do that. Why did you respond again? But whatever. I don't get it. All right. So on this last one, we can acquire leads and customers 24/7, right? And that's a big one. There are lots of companies that are pretty much, in fact, happens a lot in local business, where if you're closed, your phones, if your phones are off for the night or whatever, and somebody calls at 8 p.m., you're going to miss out on that customer. Why? Because you have no automation in place to capture that person. So for local businesses, this is just as true as any of the others. What if you were to let them go into some sort of automation that lets them schedule an appointment for the next day or something, right? There are different things that you can do depending on your business and everything else that can capture them and keep them engaged and keep them as a lead and a customer. And then we also get to reach people when they want to be reached, even if that's in the middle of the night while we are sleeping, not while they're sleeping, because they're probably not really interested in us. But I'm up in the middle of the night, but most of the people are not. Right? Most people are not up, but there are people who are up in the middle of the night who are looking for things. I'll tell you what, when we had a local business, my husband and I used to own a security company, and we had people that would call us at like 9 p.m. at night and leave messages saying, I was trying to get a hold of somebody because I needed some help with something. Right. And we were, at the time, this was back when automation was still in its infancy and super expensive. So we couldn't implemented it. But there were companies that could, and they would have it so that it would go to through an automated system, and then they could eventually connect to somebody and make an appointment for the next day. Right. So there's varying levels of automation, but for the most part, we can still implement good chunks of automation that will help us save time. Now, the next steps. Pick your automation resources and get to know them. Of course, I've included some of the links below. You probably already have ideas of what can work for you anyway. Research those a little bit more and hop into Little Biz Resources group while you're doing that. We have a Facebook group. There's the link here, or you can look in the description and let me know what you need help with, right? So if you're, let's say you want to learn more about a specific scheduling tool that we're using, post about it in the group and we'll go ahead and answer. Well, I say we, usually it's just me, but if there's other people that are using it, then yeah, they'll answer as well. If there's strategies, there's different strategies that we talk about where we use automation, right? If you're using that and you have questions or you're having problems with it, post that in the Facebook group. Check out the free training opportunities in the description if you're on YouTube. I might post this on Facebook. Oh wait, I forgot to do this. There we go. So I don't know. We'll see where I'm going to post this. But if I post in case it's on, I'll post it on both. There we go. If you're on Facebook, there's some likes and some loves, right? And then if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. If you're on Facebook, like the page, join the Facebook group. Even if you're on YouTube, join the Facebook group, right? I know there's some people out there who are boycotting Facebook, but it's here. We might as well utilize it. It's not like it's personally doing me any harm. I don't think. I hope not. I'm not really on it all that much, except for the group stuff. Now, both platforms, feel free to share with your friends. And I do appreciate you watching and helping me spread the word of the channels. And again, make sure you check the links in the description for anything that might be interesting to you. If you have questions, please, please, please hop into the Facebook group, ask questions. I don't know why nobody wants to ask questions ever, but I'm there. I get notified of them. I try to respond as quickly as I can. Facebook does have its limitations on notifications, but I will do the best I can to help you out, and I'll even do some little videos and stuff, and let me know what you want to know more about, because I gotta fill lots of content, right? For those who don't know, we're still doing, and when I say we, I mean I. So Little Biz Resources page is aiming for 25,000 unique visitors per month. Actually, they don't have to be unique, but that would be ideal by the end of December. And so that's something that we're testing all these free traffic methods. And if that's something you're interested in, I go live every Thursday and share an update with how that progress is going and things that are challenges that I am overcoming, different things like that. So if you have questions, you have ideas, you want to explore something, post in the Facebook group, and then we'll go on from there. So thanks for watching and for helping me spread the word of the channels and for subscribing and stuff, because that's awesome. Thanks.